Thank you all for coming tonight, and many thanks to the organizers for inviting me. How did you get into silversmithing? Is a question I am frequently asked. I do not have a specific answer, but hopefully my story I'm going to share with you tonight will provide some insight into my path to a career in an obscure craft. I grew up in my family's hardware and appliance business in small town Aiken, South Carolina. As a child through high school, I was there constantly. An extremely valuable impression it made on me was the importance of a good work ethic. If I wanted a dollar, I had to earn a dollar, and that ethos has stuck with me throughout my entire life. My experiences in the hardware store directly influenced my interest in sculpture, jewelry, and working with my hands. During high school, I enrolled in the industrial tech class and learned to weld. I was the only girl, and even though the guys were welcoming, I don't think they knew what to think of me and my wacky metal sculptures. I earned both my undergraduate and graduate degrees from Winthrop University, where I studied under Alfred Ward, an internationally acclaimed English silversmith from London. Even though he shared an immeasurable amount of knowledge with me, I continue to learn each day. There certainly is no shortcut to experience. Alf had a profound effect on my artwork and introduced me to silversmithing, which I felt was a combination of my interest in sculptural form and jewelry techniques. The first functional object I made was this silver and ebony spoon. The wood handle is laminated with sheet silver, which continues to be a reoccurring theme in my work. This is my first silver teapot, and it too has an ebony handle laminated with sheet silver. It was one of 7 extremely complicated silver objects I created for my thesis exhibition. The amount of dedication, hard work, and time that went into my graduate degree was good conditioning for building an arts career and business. After I graduated, I moved to Charleston, not only because I knew of the city's deep silversmithing history, but because my boyfriend, Matt Quinn, who is now my husband, lived here. He was a bit more of an adult at that time than me. Our wedding reception was at the location of our first date, and another story in itself. My first studio was located at Redux Contemporary Art Center on St. Philip Street. It was the perfect environment for me to establish and grow my business next to other artists working towards a similar goal. Except for the subpar air conditioning and heat, I am so glad Redux has a much better space now. Recently, I moved into my current studio, and along with proper air conditioning and heat, I have a much better space as well. My only studio mate now is my Cocker Spaniel Ansel, and she does not mind my hammering at all. She also doesn't distract me except close to 5 p.m. when she starts staring at me for dinner. Before I grab an expensive sheet of silver and start hammering away, I first draw my designs. I figure out on paper dimensions before moving to precious metal, because a small measurement can make a big difference in pricing. Silversmithing requires a lot of math, geometry, and business ability. All of my designs begin as sterling silver sheet or wire of varying thicknesses and dimensions. Each object is individually crafted by my hands, and I do not use casting, molds, or other mass manufacturing techniques to make my artwork, which makes every piece unique. Silversmithing is intense work, so heavy-duty tools are necessary to hammer the silver sheet over. Shown here are a variety of steel stakes I use to create bowls, spoons, vases, and hollowware objects. The large medieval weapon-like stake in the foreground is used for tall vessels, like the coffee pot in my first slide. Forging is a technique I use to create serving pieces, such as this cheese knife. Through rounds of hammering, the thick silver is stretched, and tension and strength is put into it. Durability is of the utmost importance for functional objects, and when hammered, silver gains enough strength to hold its form precisely. For heating and fabricating the silver, I use an acetylene torch and process similar to welding, but as you can see, I do not need a mask or gloves. The hood ventilates the fumes and cleans the air. In addition to joining the silver pieces together, the heat releases the tension for more rounds of intense hammering. My final step is polishing the silver surface to a high shine mirror finish. It is extremely messy, labor-intensive, and requires a lot of specialized skill. The wheel can easily kick the piece back, damaging it and injuring me severely. I have many scars on my hands as proof, but the end result is well worth it for me. Earlier, I mentioned one of my draws to Charleston was its silversmithing history. This is what an 18th century silversmithing workshop looked like. Anything look familiar? As Charleston's only female silversmith, I am carrying on the legacy of the city's rich history by employing traditional techniques that have been used for centuries. The silver indigo tester and Charleston rice spoon are two historic Charleston inspirations. In my interpretation of these historic objects, their dimensions nod to the past, but they are contemporary in form. As an artist, I make connections between seemingly unrelated things in order to make the viewer think about them differently. Charleston has inspired my work in a variety of ways. Southerners are known for entertaining and having a good time. I grew up with silver being used on a regular basis and not just on holidays, so my personal experiences with silver have influenced my career path and my designs. My most recent jewelry collection was inspired by the shape of local oyster shells. An oyster develops characteristics unique to the waters in which they grow, a metaphor for how place can shape an artist's work. The elegant contour design references the continuous connection to the saltwater marshes surrounding Charleston. This evening, I've taken you down my less traveled path. I did not get here by chance or luck, but through determination, hard work, and an independent mind. Like planishing marks on silver, each life event has built upon the next and led to something new. I look forward to seeing where this experience takes me. Thank you.